Hey, welcome back. Thanks for tuning in again. In this video, we're going to kind of branch off of our last video where we talked about upper cross syndrome. Upper cross syndrome, again, to reiterate, is characterized by a forward head posture and rounded upper back, okay? Internally rotated shoulders and rounded upper thoracic spine. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through how we develop a treatment plan for a client with this particular distortion. So if we look here, we have an example of our client Jane, who sits at a desk 9 to 5. This is a very typical type of client, 80 to 85% of the population, sitting at a desk 9 to 5. This person is experiencing pain between her shoulder blades. So very, very common, people with the rounded shoulders and forward head posture starting to experiencing some neck pain and some pain between the shoulder blades. Okay? When we observe her, when we do our postural realignment or postural analysis, we discover that this person has upper cross syndrome, or what appears to be upper cross syndrome. And we also notice that she has internally rotated shoulders. And as usual, we always want to check for medical history and make sure that she has no contraindications. So to go forward, what we are going to do as practitioners is we're going to take our client Jane, and assuming that we have about an hour with her, we're going to want to make sure that we're addressing all of the muscles that are tight or locked short, and all of the muscles that are tight for upper cross syndrome and also internally rotated shoulders. So for upper cross syndrome, we talked about in the last video that the pecs are going to be tight. Another muscle that we didn't talk about that will be tight is the anterior delt. Anterior delts. We're also going to work on our lats. Latissimus dorsi. Teres major will also play a part, and subscapularis. Of course, as we talked about before, we have our pec minor and pec major, as well as the SCM. Okay, our SCM and scalenes will also play a part here. So SCM and scalenes. In another video, we will talk about why, the reasons why these muscles in particular logically make sense to work on. But I will say that if you look at some of these muscles, anterior delt, pec major or pec minor, latissimus dorsi, all of these muscles do some form of adduction, which is to adduct, right, to bring in towards the body, and major. So if a muscle is tight, generally speaking, we're going to want to look for muscles that do that action, that might be tightening that person in that posture. So for the internally rotated shoulders, we want to work on our internal rotators. So anterior delt, latissimus dorsi, teres major, and pec major and minor, as well as our subscapularis. Okay? Our SCM and scalenes are playing a part in the forward head posture. So because the deep neck flexors are weak, we want to make sure that we're working on our scalenes and SCM. Okay? So now we have all of the muscles that we need to work on in order to address this condition in our client. So first and foremost, what I normally do is I go through and I say, you know, the subscapularis, I normally reach this in a supine position. So I'll go through and say, okay, that's supine, pec major minor is going to be supine, anterior delt will be supine. Supine meaning I'm going to start my client face up. Latissimus dorsi, I can generally do either supine or prone. So prone, okay. teres major, again, I can probably get to it prone. If I'm really in a pinch, I can get to it supine as well. SEM and scalenes are all supine. So as you can see, there's a lot of supine action going on. There's a lot of muscles in the frontal view of the body, right, of this client. So we're going to start supine. We're obviously going to be starting our treatment supine. Then we'll go through, and like any bodywork session, you're going to want to make sure that you're keeping a generalized flow. I might start out with some stretching techniques or MET or PNF techniques to really measure the mobility in my client. And then I'll progress into some deeper tissue work and trigger point therapy to really release. So the reason I love to show this is because it's really important when a client is complaining about a particular type of pain to observe their posture first, because sometimes, like in this situation, they're experiencing pain behind the shoulder blades, but really a lot of that pain is coming from and referring from all of the muscles that are tight in the front part of the body. So posture and taking into account the person's posture, 9 to 5, what they're doing for work. Also taking into account their posture when they're sleeping. So do they lie sideline? Do they sleep on one side versus the other? Do they lay on their back, or do they sleep on forward on their belly? All of those things are really, really important. It's not enough to just try to treat the person from a seated position or from a standing posture, but it's also important to take into account what other postures they might be holding when they're sleeping, because they spend 5 to 8 hours a night in that posture. So I hope you like this video. This is going to be an ongoing treatment here. So we'll continue to dissect our upper cross syndrome and what we can do to really help treat our clients who are experiencing enormous pain from leaning forward in front of their desks. If you like this video, go ahead and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. Feel free to leave comments in the comment section below. If you're looking for training, if you're a practitioner looking for training, you can visit the link below. If you're a client who's experiencing any type of symptoms like these and you'd like to book an appointment with us, our link is also below. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video.